We've looked at a lot of pro bikes over the last few weeks, months, and even the last year. And we've noticed, and so have you, that there's a big discrepancy in between riders using aluminium handlebars and carbon handlebars. Now, for pure performance, you'd always choose carbon. They can be built stiffer, they can be built lighter, and also the properties of the material mean that you can add in things like dampening, vibration, that kind of stuff. So why are riders using aluminium? And we're talking maybe 60-70% of the pro peloton using aluminium handlebars. So we've done a bit of investigation, we've asked around. Aluminium handlebars, aluminium stem. It doesn't use carbon bars. Vincenzo is running carbon bars, aluminium bars for stiffness. He chooses aluminium because it's utterly dependable. There are two main reasons why riders are going for one or the other. Now the first is the weight. So although carbon handlebars are lighter, that's not necessarily a good thing for these guys. Obviously with the UCI weight limit at 6.8 kilos, sometimes the teams are having to add weight. So adding weight in your handlebar is actually a good thing. The second thing is the security after a crash. Now this is a little bit contentious, but essentially carbon handlebars are really difficult to tell when they're damaged. Just like your frame or just like your forks, sometimes the damage is below the surface, and when it breaks, it then breaks catastrophically. With aluminium, it's much easier to see whether there's a crack. However, when you're riding a carbon frame and carbon forks and carbon wheels, it seems a bit stupid to not use carbon handlebars just for this sake. But it does seem to carry on throughout the pro peloton.
We make also impact tests on handlebar, and the resistance is not less than the aluminium handlebar. The problem is that for the aluminium handlebar it's much easier to see a crack, and it's much easier to see the propagation of the crack. For carbon handlebar it's more difficult to do so.
So from my perspective then, the only real reason why security of carbon handlebars is an issue for pro cyclists is the transport issue. And that's because pro bikes get thrown in the back of vans, they get thrown in bike bags, all those kind of things. And that's when the bikes are getting knocked and they won't necessarily know about it. So that just avoids any kind of unnecessary replacement of the handlebars. But what about for you and me? If we're not racing anymore, but we've got carbon handlebars, how should we be looking after them? Let's hear again from Alfredo from FSA to find out exactly what to do.
If they have a little crash, the best thing to do is to bring to a shop which has equipment. That the best would be to have ultrasonic equipment or something like this. If you have a big crash and the impact is high, it's better either to replace the handlebar or have the handlebar inspected, because this is something that needs to be checked. If it's a small crash, most of the time there is any consequence. So it's important to check periodically the handlebar, and not only to check if there is a crack, but for example try to compress and bend the handlebar and try to notice if there is any decrease of the properties of stiffness and so on. If you feel your handlebar becomes a little bit flexible, then it's even more reason either to inspect or to replace.
Although traditions without any kind of scientific fact are dying out in cycling, they still are there, and that includes aluminium handlebars. It's pretty much folklore now that aluminium handlebars are safer than carbon in the pro peloton, hence why a lot of riders are still using them.